A couple of months later, though, I get this email from Mike Reynolds. And he says, there's this lady who contacted me. Her name is Linda Pena. And Linda runs this organization called Mothers Against Meth. And she lives in southern New Mexico. And she would love to put a Crystal Darkness campaign on in New Mexico. And my heart sank when I heard that. So Mike gives Linda my contact information. And I agreed to meet with her. And one of the things that I was just struck with her passion for this effort, because her daughter was addicted to meth. And they went through just some horrific experiences while her daughter was addicted to meth. And she was passionate about this idea that if we could put together a Crystal Darkness campaign, maybe we can prevent other mothers from suffering the same fate that she had suffered along the way. So I had no idea what to do other than I shared this conversation with the people in our FCCI group. And pretty much the reaction was the same that I had. We have no clout with TV stations. We have no clout with law enforcement. We have no clout with the drug counseling community. We have no clout with any of the government entities that would be required to get this off the ground. And we pretty much said, well, it is not going to happen. However, a couple of meetings later, one guy, this guy right here, said, I cannot let go of this thing called Crystal Darkness. For whatever reason, he said, we have to make this happen. Tony had a store called Shamrock Discount Supply. Basically, they supply janitorial supplies to lots of schools and hospitals and businesses and things of that nature. And he's not connected with any TV stations, not connected with anybody in government. He basically said, I sell toilet paper for a living. That's the way he described himself. But he felt really led to do this. He felt a calling to make this happen. So he said, you know what we're going to do? Let's just have a kickoff luncheon. Let's just start a kickoff luncheon and make this happen. So he said, I have a friend that I went to high school with. He's a state senator, and let's just start by inviting him, State Senator Kent Craven. So Tony begins to organize a luncheon, and we're off and running. I was going, wait, Tony, you're going too fast for me. Basically, that's kind of what Jerome was describing as an audacious step. Tony was taking an audacious step of saying, let's put together a kickoff luncheon. So I realized, though, that even if we put together this kickoff luncheon, if we don't have the TV stations on board, there's no hope that this happens, because that's kind of the cornerstone of making this work, is getting the TV stations to air a documentary about this. So I don't have any connections, but I get on the internet and I go to the KOAT website, I go to the KRQE website, I go to the KOB website, and they have these contact us sections on their websites. And I just said, my name is Paul Jew. We are putting together an organizational kickoff luncheon to fight the impact of methamphetamine in our community. And we would really like it if you could be there. And then I said a prayer. I said, Lord, I pray that this would land on the right ears and it would get to the right decision makers. To make a long story short, all the TV stations showed up at this kickoff luncheon. We had the mayor there, we had the sheriff there, we had many government officials there, we had people from the drug counseling community there at this kickoff luncheon, and we were off and running. And I cannot tell you how much difficulty and how many roadblocks we encountered along this way, because this is a big deal. It required a lot of money to get raised in order to pay for the production costs of this. We had to get the word out to all the schools about this so that we would have enough people watching it. we had to involve the drug counseling community, the law enforcement community, city government, county government, churches, the faith community. And all I can say was New Mexico Crystal Darkness happened. It aired on April 10th of 2008. And here were some of the things that came out of it. 50,000 flyers were printed and distributed to schools throughout New Mexico. There were 5 Albuquerque TV stations and several El Paso and Juarez TV stations that aired Crystal Darkness in a roadblock. So we covered not only Albuquerque, we also covered the southern part of the state and El Paso and Juarez as well too. Viewing parties took place in over 30 churches and sites throughout Albuquerque. There was a 48 phone calling center that was donated by Presbyterian Healthcare. I want to talk a little bit about that. One of the components of the campaign was to have a call center so that people who were struggling with methamphetamine or had family members struggling with methamphetamine could call into a call center and get help. And we had no money to do this. And somebody estimated it would cost about $15,000 to put together a phone bank. And we had no idea how this was going to happen. I get a phone call from this lady about 2 days before this documentary is to air. And it turns out this lady, his name is Marcia. And Marcia says, I work for Presbyterian Healthcare, and I heard you're needing a phone bank. And I said, yeah, we desperately need a phone bank. And it turned out this lady, Marcia, I went to the 3rd grade with at Emerson Elementary School. And she came through and she donated their training center, 48 phones. We got volunteers from the counseling community, law enforcement community. And what ended up happening is there were 267 phone calls that were fielded that evening by counseling and law enforcement professionals. And one of the calls was a law enforcement lead that led to the closure of a meth lab near Hobbs, New Mexico. God wanted this to happen, and God provided. That's all I can say. Because, you know, I used to joke. I said, I sell pictures for a living, and then Tony said, I sell the other kind of paper. Toilet paper for a living. And somehow, God worked through an FCCI group and a couple of, well, we're yahoos, you know, me and Tony are yahoos, to make this happen. United city government, law enforcement agencies, drug counseling experts, public school officials, churches, businesses, and the media. It was just an amazing, amazing experience to see God working through that. One verse that very, very convicting to me is Matthew 6:19 through 21. Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth where moths and vermin destroy and where thieves break in and steal, but store up for yourselves treasures in heaven where moths and vermin do not destroy and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. The reason why this is so important to me is that it just kind of puts things in perspective. I think that being business owners, it's very easy to get concentrated on the temporal of making a profit and surviving and making payroll, surviving from day to day. But you know, one of the things that kind of makes me ask myself, what does it mean to lay up treasures in heaven? And I think that, you know, in terms of perspective, everything is going to be, you know, 1,000 years from now gone except for everybody in this room. People are the only thing that has any type of eternal value or treasure. Is that hopefully you're going to hang out with Jerome 1,000 years from now someday and have a good time. When I think about this, I think of my friend Tony. You know, Tony, for whatever, he answered the call. And you know, many of us who knew Tony knew that he had struggles just like many of us do. But I have to believe that he answered the call. And, a couple of years ago, Tony got diagnosed with cancer, and he passed away last October. And I have to believe that he's enjoying some treasure in heaven for answering the Lord's call. And I think that kind of puts things in perspective as to what the importance of FCCI is. This is just a restaurant that my dad built in 1976. At that time, it was the state-of-the-art Chinese restaurant in all of the Southwest. It sat 450 people. It had 3 really large dining rooms with artifacts and art pieces from all over China. It had a really nice lounge, and it turned out to be a state-of-the-art facility. I guess one of the things I want to share, though, is that last year, the people who were the tenants of that building last year, there was a fire that caught, and basically they bulldozed down this building last year. And it just kind of helps me put things in perspective that all this time and effort we put into our businesses, it's all going to be a pile of rubble 1,000 years from now. And where are we going to be putting our time and effort and treasure? I think that Jeremy put things in perspective last night. Is that there's the importance of renewing of our mind, renewing of our minds. And for me, that's what FCCI has done for me. Is it gives me a weekly opportunity to make sure that my mind is renewed in the right direction. And right now, I was part of Kim Ju Photography Studio for many years. In 2004, one of the things that the Lord led me to do was, and my wife led me to do, was break away from Kim Ju in terms of creating our own corporate entity. Because we felt convicted that we were unequally yoked. But basically we kept the Kim Ju name for over 10 years, at our location on Gruber. But this past year, however, circumstances led to my brother wanting to go a different direction with the Kim Ju name and me wanting to go a different direction. So in January of this year, we made the move to get rid of, in our building, the Kim Ju name altogether, and we are now a brand new name. Moji means to remember in Japanese, and we're in the midst of trying to reinvent ourselves. Basically, this is all very new. This happened in January of this year, and one of the things that is our God-sized challenge right now, something that has produced worry and fear in us, is that the photo industry is very much been on a steep and steady decline for the last few years. So we've been praying for wisdom as to how do we reinvent ourselves, what are new products and services that we need to do in order to survive. I'm even asking myself, Lord, if you don't want me to do this, I'm happy to do something else. We're just asking for the Lord's wisdom on this. And the great thing is that I have FCCI friends who come alongside, and they pray for me, they give me great counsel, and I don't feel alone in this process. So we're trying to create a company that positions itself to be more appealing to young families, very spontaneous photography, those types of things. And all I can say is that I'm glad I have my FCCI friends around on a weekly basis to get me through that. One of the things that I want to do before, I really don't want to necessarily close right now, except I want everybody to experience something that we do in all of our FCCI groups on a weekly basis. And what I want you to do is I want you to pair up with somebody, and I want you to ask for a prayer request from that person. And then after you've asked them for that prayer request, please pray for that person. And then switch roles. And one of the things that we ask for is that just be transparent, just be real. If everybody could just right now pair up with somebody, give a praise or prayer request, and then just spend some time praying for each other. I appreciate that.